I watched Bryce deliver the news like he was reading stock prices. "We're restructuring the logistics division," he said with that MBA smile. "Found someone who can modernize our operations for 60% of your current compensation. Digital transformation, you understand? My name is Garrett Brooks. I'm 49 years old. I've been working since I was 17, and I know what dedication looks like when someone actually values it." Bryce had this way of talking where he'd drop buzzwords like they were gospel truth, then grin like his Harvard MBA made everything he said automatically brilliant. He did it now. That same condescending expression he used when he explained why my 11 years of supply chain expertise was legacy thinking that needed upgrading. 11 years I'd given Midwest Auto Distribution. 11 years building a logistics network that moved $200 million worth of automotive parts annually across 8 states. When I started, our distribution centers were disasters. Parts scattered everywhere. No systematic rotation. Suppliers threatening to drop us because orders kept getting botched. The previous logistics manager had quit after 6 months, said the complexity was impossible to handle. I took the job because I needed steady work. My wife Stephanie was building her real estate practice. Our sons Colin and Lance were heading toward college, and mortgages don't care about your career aspirations. Those first 8 months, I worked until midnight most nights. I learned every part we carried, every supplier's delivery schedule, which manufacturers were reliable, and which ones needed constant monitoring. I figured out that seasonal parts needed specific rotation patterns. Winter transmission components couldn't sit in Arizona warehouses during summer heat. Heavy brake assemblies required special handling equipment. Some chemical treatments couldn't be stored together because of temperature sensitivity or compatibility reactions. I built tracking systems that monitored everything in real time, created zone optimization algorithms that maximized efficiency, negotiated with suppliers until they trusted our operation again. It took 3 years before everything ran smoothly. After that, it just worked. Parts flowed seamlessly from manufacturers to dealers. Inventory levels stayed optimal. Suppliers stopped complaining and started praising our operation. My boss back then, Hugh Morrison, used to say I made complex logistics look effortless. Then Bryce showed up. 18 months ago, corporate transferred him from the Chicago office. 31 years old with a fresh MBA and zero hands-on logistics experience. They gave him the division because he talked about optimization and automation in every presentation. He never asked me how our systems worked. Never wanted to understand the relationships I'd built with suppliers or why certain processes existed. He just wanted dashboards that made him look innovative when he reported to senior leadership. "Get me real-time analytics," he'd say. "I need KPIs that demonstrate operational excellence. Build me a presentation I can use with corporate." I did it every time because that was my job. But Bryce acted like the results happened automatically, like anyone could manage what I'd spent over a decade perfecting. He'd tell people in meetings, "Our automation systems basically run themselves now. Very streamlined operation." It wasn't streamlined. It was 11 years of expertise disguised as simplicity because I'd eliminated every inefficiency through hard-earned experience. Bryce didn't see any of that. He saw a $105,000 salary he could cut by hiring some kid who knew Excel and thought logistics was just data entry. "We've already identified your replacement," he continued, still wearing that MBA smile. "Starts Monday. You have until end of day to document your processes and transition responsibilities." "Transition to who?" I asked. "You said he starts Monday. Today is Thursday. Create a knowledge transfer document. Shouldn't take long since you've always emphasized how systematic everything is." I never said that. He said that. But arguing wouldn't change anything. Bryce had already decided, probably weeks ago. This conversation was just corporate formality. "Fine," I said. His smile flickered. He probably expected me to argue, maybe beg for another chance. I didn't give him that satisfaction. I walked back to my office. Not a big space, just enough room for a desk, some filing cabinets, and shelves full of supplier manuals, parts catalogs, vendor contracts, 11 years of information that couldn't be documented in an afternoon. But I tried. I pulled out my laptop and started typing. Supplier contact information, delivery schedules, which vendors needed 3-week lead times for transmission rebuilds, which ones consistently ran late with brake components and required buffer stock, parts with special storage requirements, difficult customers who needed extra attention, how to read the optimization algorithms I'd developed, when to adjust seasonal inventory rotations for winter equipment. 6 pages in, I realized how pointless this was. My replacement wouldn't understand any of this without context, without seeing the operation in real time, without making the inevitable mistakes and learning from them like I had. This wasn't information you could learn from a document. It was institutional knowledge built through experience. Bryce walked by once around 2 p.m. "How's the documentation coming?" "It's coming," I said. He nodded and left. Nobody else acknowledged what was happening. Word travels fast in places like this, but people keep their heads down. Everyone needs their paycheck. Everyone's got bills. I understood that completely. The afternoon felt surreal. Normal warehouse sounds continued around me. Forklifts moving pallets, radio chatter between zones, delivery trucks backing up to loading docks. All the systems I'd built functioning perfectly while I sat there writing their obituary. Around 4, I finished writing what I could. I packed my personal items into a cardboard box, a coffee mug from our company picnic 5 years ago, a jacket I kept here for cold warehouse walks, some family photos, a small cactus that somehow survived despite minimal office light, not much to show for 11 years. That night, I sat in my truck in our driveway, staring at our house. All the windows were lit. Stephanie would be helping Colin with his engineering homework. Lance would be practicing guitar in his room. Normal Thursday evening activities that suddenly felt precious and fragile. I hadn't told them yet. I walked into our kitchen and found Stephanie grading real estate contracts at the dining table. She looked up, smiled, then noticed my expression. "What's wrong?" she asked. Colin wandered in from the living room, calculus textbook under his arm. Lance followed, still holding his guitar. Both boys sensed the shift in atmosphere immediately. "I got fired today," I said. No point sugarcoating it. The silence stretched for maybe 10 seconds. Then Stephanie stood up, walked over, and hugged me, not saying anything, just holding on. The boys stayed where they were, processing. "What happened?" Stephanie asked finally. "My boss decided he could replace me with someone cheaper. Digital transformation, he called it." "That's insane," Colin said. "You built that whole operation. You've told us stories about it for years." "Yeah," I said. "I know." "What about college?" Lance asked quietly. He was a sophomore at State. Colin was a junior at Tech. Between them, we were looking at $40,000 in tuition bills next semester. "We'll figure it out," Stephanie said, but I could see the calculations starting in her head. Real estate commissions were good when they came, but unpredictable. My salary had been the steady foundation. "Do you have severance?" she asked. "They didn't mention any. I don't think this was planned properly. What does that mean?" "I'm not sure yet." That night I lay awake staring at the ceiling. 25 years of marriage. And Stephanie knew better than to push for details when I was still processing. But I could feel her worry in the way she wasn't sleeping either. The next morning I thought about Dean Patterson. He'd been VP of Operations for 15 years, oversaw 6 regional centers, managed maybe 400 employees across the Midwest. Bryce reported to someone who reported to Dean, so they'd never worked directly together. But Dean and I had a relationship that went back 7 years. It started when one of our suppliers tried overcharging us for emergency transmission parts during a production crisis. The supplier figured we were desperate, marked up prices 300%, expected us to pay without question. Loss prevention wanted to just accept it, said we had no choice with production deadlines looming. They asked my opinion. I looked at the situation and said, "Give me 4 hours." I called every contact I had, found alternative suppliers who could deliver the same parts for standard pricing. Saved the company $180,000 on that single order. Dean heard about it, called me personally to say thank you, said that kind of creative problem solving was exactly what the company needed. After that, he started checking in periodically. Every few months, we'd grab lunch at this place near the main distribution center. Nothing fancy, just burgers and conversation. He'd ask how operations were running, what challenges I was facing, how my family was doing. Other people thought it was unusual. Why would a VP have lunch with a logistics manager? But Dean valued results over hierarchy. He remembered that I'd saved the company serious money when creative thinking mattered more than following standard procedures. We had lunch scheduled for today at 4:30. We always did late afternoon because his mornings were packed with corporate meetings. I looked at my watch. 4:15. Should I tell him I'd been fired or just cancel? I decided to go. I'd explain what happened. He might even help me find something else within the company. I drove toward the restaurant, 15-minute drive through industrial traffic. Same route I'd taken dozens of times for these lunches. I wasn't angry exactly, just empty. Like something important had been removed and I was supposed to pretend everything was still normal. My phone started buzzing as I pulled into the parking lot. Dean's name on the screen. I let it ring, figured I'd explain in person in 10 minutes. It rang again. Again. On the fourth call I answered. "Where are you?" Dean's voice had an edge I'd never heard. "We have the quarterly logistics review in 20 minutes. Your manager keeps saying you're unavailable. What's going on?" "I didn't quit," I said. "Bryce fired me this morning. Said he found someone who could do my job for less money." Silence. I could hear Dean breathing, background noise from his office. "He what?" "Fired me. Told me to pack my things and create transition documents for my replacement." "I'm looking at the agenda right now," Dean said. His voice had changed, gotten colder. "You're listed as presenter for the Operational Efficiency Report, Quarterly Supplier Performance Analysis, Distribution Center Optimization Results. We do this every quarter, Garrett. You've never missed one. I know. I was planning to be there. Then Bryce called me into his office and told me I was done." More silence. Then, "Stay near your phone." He hung up. I sat in my truck holding the phone. Around me, people were going about their normal Friday afternoon, getting coffee, heading home early, living regular lives. For everyone else, this was just another day. My phone buzzed. Text from Dean. "What's your manager's direct extension?" I sent it. Then I waited. 25 minutes passed. I tried not to imagine what was happening. Dean calling Bryce. Bryce realizing he'd made a catastrophic error. But what could Dean actually do? Bryce was management. He had authority to hire and fire within his division. My phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello, Garrett. This is Nicole from Human Resources. I'm calling about a termination that was processed today under your employee number. Can you confirm you met with Bryce Hamilton this morning?" "Yes. And he informed you of termination effective immediately?" "Yes." "Did he provide severance documentation? Exit procedures?" "No. He just told me to pack my things and write transition notes." I heard typing. "Lots of typing. I see. And did he cite performance issues? Disciplinary problems?" "He said they found someone cheaper. Digital transformation." More typing. Longer this time. "Okay. Thank you. Someone will contact you shortly." She hung up. I felt something then. Not hope exactly, but something. 2 hours later, Bryce called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Garrett." His voice sounded strained, like he was forcing the words. "There's been a miscommunication. We need you back immediately," Bryce continued, his voice tight like he was forcing the words out. I said nothing. "There was a procedural issue with HR. Your termination wasn't properly authorized through proper channels. We need you to return Monday morning." "What happened to your digital transformation candidate?" "That fell through." "Look, this was an administrative error. We value your expertise. You're critical to operations." Critical. He'd never used that word about me before. Never used any word that suggested I mattered beyond being a replaceable cost center. "The VP needs the quarterly logistics reports," Bryce continued. "For the review Monday. You have all the data. Nobody else can generate the analysis in time. Nobody else." Because he'd fired the person who actually understood the operation. "I'll think about it," I said. "Garrett, please, I need an answer now. We have corporate obligations. The quarterly review is essential for regional planning. You didn't care about that yesterday morning. I made an error in judgment, but we can fix this. Come back. We'll discuss compensation adjustment, additional responsibilities." I hung up. For the first time since yesterday morning, I smiled. That weekend, I told Stephanie everything. About Dean's intervention, about Bryce's panicked callback, about the satisfaction of watching someone realize they'd thrown away something valuable. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I'm not going back," I said. "Not to work for someone who thought I was disposable." "But the job search? We'll figure it out. You always said I should value myself more." She nodded. "I can pick up extra showings. Colin can apply for work study. We'll manage." The boys took it better than I expected. Lance actually seemed proud that I'd stood up for myself. Colin started researching financial aid options without being asked. Monday morning, Bryce called me 6 times. I didn't answer. By noon, my phone was ringing constantly. Different warehouses, different shifts, all asking the same questions. Where were specific parts stored? Which suppliers to contact for? Emergency orders. How to read the optimization reports I'd created. Troy Williams from the Detroit Center called around 1 p.m. Hey, is this Garrett? Listen, I know you're not here anymore, but we have a crisis. There's a shipment of transmission parts that was supposed to go to Ford this morning, and nobody knows where they're stored. Your replacement is searching Zone 7, but I think that's wrong. It's in Zone 12, I said. Climate-controlled section, blue tags. Thank you. He's been looking for 3 hours. Troy hung up. 30 minutes later, another call. Different distribution center. Supplier delivery came in wrong. Brake components they didn't order. Nobody knew who to contact for returns. I walked them through it. Then another call. And another. Bryce's voice got more desperate each time. Please, everything's chaos. Nothing's where the system says it should be. Suppliers are calling about missed orders. The replacement you mentioned quit after 1 day. Said the job was completely different than described. What did you describe? Data entry. Basic inventory tracking. I didn't realize it was this complex. You made it look easy, I said. That phrase again. Easy. You never asked how it worked. You just wanted results. I'm asking now. Come back. Name your salary. I thought about it. Going back, taking a raise, returning to something familiar. But I'd spent 11 years building systems for someone who never valued the expertise, who thought I was easily replaceable, who smiled while firing me. No, I said. Garrett, please. The quarterly review is Monday. Corporate is demanding full operational analysis, supplier performance metrics, distribution efficiency reports, cost optimization data. I don't even know what half of that means. You should have learned when you had the chance. I hung up. The next 3 weeks were the strangest of my career. I'd spend mornings applying for positions, afternoons fielding calls from my former workplace. The operation was collapsing in real time. Parts getting shipped to wrong dealers, critical components sitting in inappropriate storage, degrading from temperature exposure, suppliers threatening to terminate contracts because orders were completely chaotic. I started being selective about which calls I answered. Enough help to prevent total disaster, not enough to save Bryce from the consequences of his decision. Dean called once during that period. You doing okay? Yeah. Job hunting. Good. I know the situation isn't ideal for operations, but Bryce needs to understand what he threw away, what you built. Some people only learn through consequences. What if he can't figure it out? Then we'll make alternative arrangements. But that's not your concern anymore. You gave 11 years. You don't owe us anything else. He was right. I didn't. The job search was harder than I'd expected, not because of my qualifications, but because of timing. Most companies wanted immediate starts, and I was being particular about fit. I wasn't going to jump into another situation where experience wasn't valued. I had 3 promising interviews, one with a regional competitor, one with a manufacturing company expanding their distribution, one with an automotive supplier looking to build their logistics from scratch. The supplier interview went best. Jennifer Martinez, the CEO, walked me through their entire operation personally. Small but growing fast, plans to expand across the Midwest, needed someone to build their distribution network. What's your timeline? She asked. I need this done right, I said. Not fast, but right. You'll have growing pains, supplier challenges, systems integration issues. This isn't something you automate away. It takes experience. Jennifer nodded. That's exactly why we want you. We've seen what happens when companies think logistics is just software. During my 3rd week of unemployment, Stephanie came home from a successful closing, excited about her commission. We celebrated with dinner out, the first time we'd done that since I was fired. You seem different, she said over dessert. Lighter. I feel different. Like I'm not carrying someone else's judgment anymore. That night, Jennifer called with an offer. Director of Logistics, $125,000 base salary plus equity participation. Small team initially, but with budget to hire and build as they grew. When do you need an answer? I asked. Take your time. We want you to be sure. I was sure. But I took the weekend anyway, discussed it with Stephanie and the boys. Everyone agreed it felt right. Monday morning, I called Jennifer back. I'm in. Excellent. When can you start? 2 weeks. Perfect. Welcome aboard, Garrett. That same morning, Bryce called one last time. I let it go to voicemail. Later, I listened to the message. His voice was hoarse, defeated. "Garrett, I know you've probably moved on. Just wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't understand what you did here. I thought it was just managing spreadsheets. I was wrong about everything." He paused. "If you ever want to consult, we'll pay whatever you ask. I know I can't undo this, but maybe we can work something out." I deleted the message and blocked his number. My first day at Advanced Automotive Solutions felt different from minute one. Jennifer met me in the lobby personally, walked me through every department, introduced me to every team member. No rushed orientation, no dumping me at a desk with a stack of manuals. "What do you need to be successful here?" she asked. "Time," I said. "Time to learn your products, your suppliers, your specific challenges. Building logistics systems isn't instant." "I know," Jennifer said. "That's exactly why we hired you. We need someone who understands this takes real expertise." The operation was chaotic when I started, but manageable chaos. Parts scattered across inadequate warehouse space, no systematic organization, suppliers frustrated by inconsistent ordering. I'd seen this before, I knew how to fix it. Spent my first month just learning. Every product line, every supplier relationship, every workflow bottleneck, taking notes, asking questions, building mental maps of how everything connected. Jennifer checked in weekly, not micromanaging, just present. "How's it going? What obstacles can I remove? What resources do you need?" That's what good management looked like. Someone who understood that helping employees succeed was how companies succeeded. Meanwhile, stories filtered back from Midwest Auto through industry contacts and former colleagues. Dean had kept his word. Bryce was now personally responsible for all logistics operations, no support staff, no transition period. Every decision ran through him. Every mistake fell on him. And there were plenty of mistakes. Roland Stevens called me in my second week. I'd worked with him for 8 years at Midwest Auto. He supplied specialized transmission components, high-precision stuff that required careful handling. "Your old company keeps messing up orders," he said. "Wrong specifications, wrong delivery schedules. I've tried working with their new management, but it's not the same. Any chance your new company needs transmission components?" I talked to Jennifer. She was very interested. We worked out an initial contract. Roland shifted a portion of his business to us. Then Barry Walsh called. He'd supplied brake systems to Midwest Auto for 6 years. Same story, same frustration with their new chaos, same interest in working with my new company. Within 4 months, we'd acquired contracts with 4 major suppliers who'd previously worked exclusively with Midwest Auto. Not because I recruited them, but because they valued reliable partnerships. And those partnerships had been with me personally, not with my former company. Jennifer was thrilled. "You've brought in $8 million worth of new supplier relationships," she said. "That's incredible business development." "I wasn't trying to steal anything," I said. "They called me." "I know. That's what makes it so valuable. These aren't cold calls or sales pitches. These are established relationships choosing to follow you. That's the kind of reputation you can't buy." Dean called me around that time. "You're acquiring our suppliers," he said, but he was laughing. "I'm not acquiring anyone. They're making business decisions just like Bryce did when he fired me." "Fair point. How's the new place treating you?" "Much better." "Good. You deserved better than what happened. Sometimes the worst thing that happens is exactly the push we need toward something better." He wasn't wrong. I'd been comfortable at Midwest Auto. Not happy, not fulfilled, just comfortable. Familiar. I probably would have stayed another 11 years building systems for people who didn't appreciate them. Getting fired had freed me. My family noticed the difference immediately. Not just the better salary, though the extra $20,000 helped significantly with Colin and Lance's college costs, but my attitude, my energy level. "You seem like yourself again," Stephanie said one evening. "Like you're not fighting an uphill battle every day." She was right. I'd been carrying weight for years. The weight of being undervalued, of working harder to prove I deserved to stay, of making someone else look good while staying invisible myself. That weight was gone. About 8 months after I started, Jennifer called me into her office. "We're expanding, opening a second facility in Ohio. I want you to oversee logistics for both locations, build the Ohio system from the ground up, train someone to help you manage both operations." It was a promotion. More responsibility, more money, more recognition. "I'm in," I said. "You don't want to think about it?" "I've been thinking about it since I walked in here. This is exactly what I want to do." Building the Ohio facility system was deeply satisfying, creating something from nothing, knowing it would work because I understood what made systems actually function. I hired an assistant, Shane Peterson, 26 years old. Recent engineering graduate, eager to learn, asked thoughtful questions about everything. He wanted to understand not just what to do, but why. Training Shane reminded me of training myself 11 years earlier, showing him how parts move through distribution networks, why certain components needed specific storage conditions, how to read supplier patterns, when to anticipate problems before they became crises. He absorbed everything, took detailed notes, made mistakes, and learned from them. Within 6 months, he was handling daily operations while I focused on strategic planning. That's what succession should look like. Not firing someone and hoping their replacement figures it out, but deliberately building knowledge, transferring expertise, creating systems that survive beyond one person. About a year after my firing, Lance Rodriguez called me. I remembered him from Midwest Auto, worked receiving in Zone 5. "Garrett, this is Lance Rodriguez. I don't know if you remember me, but I worked receiving at your old job." "I remember. How are you?" "I'm okay. Listen, I'm calling because I'm leaving Midwest Auto next week. Found something better. And I wanted to thank you before I go." "Thank me for what?" "You probably don't remember, but 4 years ago, I made a huge mistake. Mixed up 2 major shipments, cost thousands. I thought I'd be fired. You found me in the loading dock, completely panicking. You said mistakes happen, let's fix it. You stayed 3 hours after your shift helping me sort everything out. Never told anyone it was my fault. Took responsibility in the incident report. I did remember vaguely. It had seemed like the right thing to do. Lance was a good worker. One mistake didn't define him." "You didn't need to call," I said. "I needed to because when you got fired, I felt sick. We all did. You'd helped so many of us over the years. Fixed our problems, covered our mistakes, taught us how to do things right, and the company just threw you away." Lance paused. "I wanted you to know that we noticed, we remembered, and I'm not the only one who's left since then. A lot of people have, because if they could do that to you, they could do it to anyone. You showed us what good leadership looked like." After Lance hung up, I sat in my office thinking about what he'd said. I'd never considered that my firing affected other people beyond just me losing a job, that it sent a message about how much loyalty meant to that company. Over the following months, I heard similar stories. People reaching out, thanking me, telling me they'd moved on to better situations. Some had taken positions at my new company. Others had found different paths entirely. Jennifer mentioned it recently. "We've hired 6 people from your old company in the past year. They all say the same thing, that you showed them what good work looked like, that they wanted to work somewhere that valued that. You built more than a logistics system at that place," she continued. "You built a standard. People saw how you worked, how you treated them. When the company failed to meet that standard, they left. That's leadership, whether you meant it to be or not. I'd never thought of myself as a leader. I was just someone who showed up, did the work, helped when people needed help, but maybe that was leadership, not titles or authority, just consistency, integrity, treating people like they mattered. Maybe that's what made the difference in the end."